Hey, Chicago, what do you say? This is the CHGO Cubs Podcast. Happy Tuesday, Cody Delmendo, Ryan Herrera. Still no Luke Stuckmeyer. I believe he'll be back tomorrow, according to our schedule, but no promises. But I think he will be back tomorrow. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. So I guess we'll just kind of jump right into it. I would just like to say that we deserve credit. I say this every show, that we deserve credit for something, but legitimately, we actually deserve some credit. We manifested Tyler Glasnow trade rumors, trading for Tyler Glasnow trade rumors. We talked about Tyler Glasnow yesterday. I wake up this morning in my bed, roll over, instead of opening up CIRCA Sportsbook or DraftKings Sportsbook or any sportsbook at all, I open up Twitter and I see that John Morosi says that the Cubs have talked to the Rays about Tyler Glasnow and Shane Bieber. So credit to us, Ryan.
Yeah. Was it manifested? Yeah, we manifested.
We manifested. Right? We manifested the rumor. We haven't manifested the trade yet. When the trade happens, credit to us as well. But we have manifested the conversation.
There you go. That's good. And another one now. Actually, we've manifested even more conversations. Apparently.
Right. If you're just jumping in, you see the headline. Yes, Shane Bieber is also part of the trade rumors. I guess it's
the rumor mill. Yeah.
The rumor mill. So apparently, it's again. John Morosi tweeted this. The Cubs and the Reds have checked in on both these guys. So a little bit of a division. Right. Well, you consider the Reds rivals? Not really, but
divisional arms race.
Yeah. Two teams in the same division. Bidding for two really good pitchers. So I guess, if you want to know, we can talk about Glasnow some more if you want. But I think with Shane Bieber, at the very least, we haven't really talked a lot about him. I think over the course of CHGO Cubs' existence, we have seen a lot of people in the chat say that the Cubs should go after Shane Bieber. So I think there will be a lot of the same reaction to this in the chat today in terms of wanting him or not wanting him. I think, obviously, I think it could be 50-50 in terms of fan perspective. But I was looking at Shane Bieber's numbers, and I feel like it's very similar to Tyler Glasnow and to what you would have to move for him.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I guess it depends. There's two different organizations, too. It depends on what they'd want for them. First, I want to say, you mentioned the Reds earlier. Mm-hmm. Is that not surprising to you?
That the Reds are part of a trade?
These trade rumors and stuff like that.
I'm a little surprised.
They don't really ever feel part of, these big... Yeah.
Well, that's just because I feel like they've just been, outside of, 1 year, the COVID year when they... they had Castellanos and Jesse Winker and, some of those guys. And, they had Luis Castillo, too. Outside of that year and, way back when I was in college, the Reds, I feel like they've just been tanking my entire life. And this past year, they exceeded expectations, big expectations. I mean, we were in a playoff race with them all season. Obviously, they have some nice young talent, but they don't have any pitching. So am I surprised they're being part of these types of trade talks? In some aspects, yes, because I'm not used to it. But also at the same time, as far as going into next season, obviously the Reds need to add pitching.
Well, I think it's also part of it that they have a really good farm system, so they have the prospect depth to make one of these trades. And they have really good players. I mean, Hunter Green as a starter, he'll figure out eventually he's a really good starter. Ellie De La Cruz at shortstop. They got really good players. So
Matt McClain,
really good cheap players is also a thing. They're good and cheap, so they could go out and either spend a little bit of money or trade for a guy that costs a little bit of money because the rest of their team isn't going to cost as much. Mm-hmm. So I think to me, it was surprising that I was surprised a little bit to see just the name in general. But when you look into it, it's kind of like, okay, like these, it does make some sense that they would be involved in them. But back to your question, Bieber, yeah, I don't know. Was Bieber like $12.5 million or something like that? He's due this year. 28 years old, I want to say.
He's 28.
It doesn't. I don't know. Yeah, two different organizations. I don't know what they'd want. I don't think the return would have to be so much different for either of them. So I think that like the returns or what you'd have to give up would be similar. I will say that outside of that, like, I just don't know that Bieber's a really good pitcher, obviously, like former Cy Young Award winner, 2-time All-Star, but he has trended down in the fastball velocity department the last couple of years. Yep. I mean, his fastball velocity is 13th percentile in the major leagues last year. His whiff rate is 37th percentile, strikeout rate 28th percentile, ground ball rate great, 75th percentile. But like we're talking about adding
swing and miss.
Yeah, we've talked about adding swing and miss, more velo, all that kind of stuff. And if you're adding Bieber, who again is a good pitcher, you're adding a lot of what the Cubs already have. And I think that's what we talked about, like them going out and just like switching things around a little bit. Like they don't have to completely overhaul and bring in everyone that's just crazy velo, but like bring in guys that have different looks. We talked about Glasnow yesterday. He does that. He has the velo. He has the swing and miss. Shane Bieber, at least last season, and the way things have trended down for him in the fastball velocity department, like I don't know, because I don't know if the Cubs could bring him in and like get him back. Like they got Kyle Hendricks up like a mile per hour through a program over the offseason. I don't know what that would take, but to see the way he's trended to more of what the Cubs already have and a little bit softer throwers, but good contact managers and command guys, they have that. And I think if I'm looking at it as the Cubs, I would say I want more variability in my rotation. I want the guys that can get me more swing and miss, because we have a guy like Justin Steele who has really good command, misses barrels. Like he's the command guy, softer thrower. Kyle Hendricks is that as well. Tyone is kind of like that. He throws a little bit harder, but he's still a lot more of like a contact manager guy. If he could develop more swing and miss, that'd be great. But like Jordan Wick, same thing. Doesn't have a ton of swing and miss. Bieber, you're adding that. Again, really good pitcher, would be a good addition to the rotation just on the surface. But if I'm looking for more swing and miss, more velo in the rotation, I don't know if Bieber does that. It's definitely not as much as Glasnow would.
Based off recent play, I would agree. I'm looking at the chat. Our friend Gary says Bieber not really an option, just trying to drive down the price on Glasnow. I could see that because obviously the Cubs are interested in Tyler Glasnow too, as an actual rumor. I think we're getting it's a little bit of a mix in here. Some people are, Gary also says Bieber's lost his fastball. His arm is in trouble based on reports out of Cleveland. I didn't see that, but
he did miss most of the second half of last season with, I think it was right elbow inflammation. Like he made 2 starts after July 9th because of that.
At the very end of the year.
Yeah, right at the very end of the year. So there is maybe some injury concern there.
Right. Well, and the only reason that I say that it was at the very end of the year is that it shows that he was healthy at the very end of the year. So it's not like you're going into next year with a guy that hasn't pitched in recent months. Yes, it was only 2 starts. Yes, he had some injury problems this past season, but he's healthy at the end of the year. So if they traded for him, he'd be ready to go, spring training and all that. To play devil's advocate, because for the most part, I do agree with you that I would rather have Tyler Glasnow than Shane Bieber based off the stuff and the different look he would bring in the rotation. Shane Bieber has shown to be an elite starting pitcher. Yeah. He won an AL Cy Young Award. I know it was in the 2020 Mickey Mouse COVID year, whatever you want to call it, but I believe that's the year they won. And he had the year before in 2019, 5.5 F4. He had strikeouts per 9, 10.88 in 2019, 14.20 in 2020. Of course, 12 starts again the Cy Young season. 2021, 12.48 strikeouts per 9, and then it started to dip from there. So my thinking is all right, again, playing devil's advocate here. He has 1 year left to control. So he has 1 year to prove that he is actually the guy that, the first 3-4 seasons with Cleveland, to prove that he is that guy and not the guy that's been pitching the last 2 years. I will say in 2022, when the numbers still started to drop, he still pitched 200 innings.
Yeah.
In 2022.
Yeah,
right?
2.88 ERA.
Right.
Like,
he was still really good, right?
Great. Yeah. And that's what I'm saying is he is still, like, he is a really good pitcher. Like, don't get me wrong, just because he's trended down in the velocity, he's getting more ground ball. Like, he's still a good pitcher, and he's good at what he does. Mm-hmm. But I think my point is more, like, there is some injury risk there. There is the risk of, like, what's been happening to him. Why is his fastball velocity down so much? Like, risk versus reward between him and Glasnow. I'm still at the point where it's like, I want to diversify the rotation a little bit.
Yeah.
Glasnow does that a little bit. He probably has more injury risk than Shane Bieber does, right? Just because he hasn't had like a fully healthy season in Glasnow. So he probably has a little bit more of a risk, but the reward is, hey, we actually have a guy that has I think it was closer to elite fastball velocity when he's healthy and he has the swing and miss. Like that, I think that's my whole point is like, while the Cubs would obviously be better having Bieber. No, don't get me wrong. They will be better team if they were to get Bieber and not Glasnow. They'll still be a good team or a better team, an improved team. How about that? Getting Glasnow just diversifies the rotation a little bit more than Bieber does, and I think that's if I'm the Cubs looking at it, that's what I want is just get me some velo, get me some swing and miss. I think that's why I look at Glasnow. But Bieber, again, as I'm saying, he is still a very good pitcher. The team, if that's the guy the Cubs went out and got, like that's risk, quote unquote risk. That's a risk they should be willing to take because he's not that expensive. He's got 1 year, probably not going to cost you a whole lot, and he's a guy. Yeah, like you said, he has been a very good pitcher in the past.
Yeah. We talked about yesterday when it came to Glasnow why the Cubs would be able to get him without having to move a guy like PCA or Cade Horton or, I don't even think you'd have to move a Kevin Alcantara for him or anything. I think you'd have to move a top 10 guy. You mentioned Hayden Wisniewski if we're talking about major league players. Mm-hmm. Like, I feel the same about Shane Bieber because the last 2 years, despite the fact that he's been very good, he just hasn't been what like his peak form. He started to trend down. And again, 1 year left to control says everything about what the Cubs would have to move to get him. I think you'd have to send a better prospect for a guy like Bieber out rather than Glasnow. But I just think that 1 year control left really isn't going to force the Cubs to have to send anyone crazy for him. So, related to like the injury stuff, when we talked about Glasnow, never had 30 starts in a season. Shane Bieber has done it twice. Pitched 200 innings twice. 21 starts last year, 128 innings pitched. The same as Tyler Glasnow. And he's 28, so 2 years younger than Tyler Glasnow. So, again, I'm playing mainly devil's advocate here because I agree I'd rather have Glasnow more than Bieber, but I just think that I agree with what you're saying in terms of just the look in the rotation. If the Cubs didn't have a Kyle Hendricks or a Justin Steele already in the rotation, then I'd be very much on board for Shane Bieber. Yeah. And that said, though, as someone who has a lot of belief in the pitch lab, who's to say the Cubs couldn't get him back on track? And that's the risk or the hope that the Cubs could create if they did trade for Bieber. And if you didn't have to trade massive pieces for Bieber, which you shouldn't have to, who's to say that wouldn't turn into a really a move we look back on and think, wow, that was a great move by Jed?
No, I mean it totally could. It totally could. It would just be like, again, when I mentioned Kyle Hendricks earlier with the velo program they put him on last offseason during his recovery from the capsular tear in his right shoulder, like it did show some improvement. He didn't like start blowing fastballs by people, but he did get up a tick or two on the gun, which was great to see because Kyle Hendricks hit like 90 miles per hour on a fastball for the first time years last season, like a few times too. So I was like, that was really good to see. And that's like a sign that like, hey, if they were to get Bieber and put him through a similar program, could they get a couple ticks back on that fastball? Maybe. I'm not saying that they couldn't or could or couldn't, but they've shown that they've been able to do it with someone in the past. I don't know. I don't know. With Bieber too, like he's missed, like we talked about, he missed pretty much the entire second half of last season. I think he missed most of the second half of 2021. Like he went on the 60-day IL in July 2021. He was put on the 10-day IL in June 2021. Then was transferred to the 60-day in July and didn't come back till September 24th. So that's 2 of the last 3 seasons. He's essentially missed the entire second half of the season. Yeah. There's just some injury risk there that, again, absolutely. Tyler Glasnow has the same thing. That there's going to be risk with some of these guys. If my point is, if I'm sitting here and I'm talking about risk and what is the risk I'd rather take, it's probably Glasnow, just because of the potential to have a really good pitcher that is different than what you already have in the rotation.
Yeah, I agree. I'm looking at the chat. Hello, Barb. We are live.
Barb, I don't think Shane Bieber is related to Justin Bieber.
No, he's not related to Justin Bieber. However, that'd be hilarious if he was. It's in the grand scheme, it's good to see the Cubs are part of these discussions, because I in general I do think that this is all part of some sort of big play.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the Bo Bichette rumor that came out last week. Like, the Cubs called and checked in on Bo Bichette. Is that something that's really going to happen? I don't fully believe that that's going to happen at all. But to see them out there being part of these conversations, it's a big deal, because they haven't been part of these types of conversations the last handful of years. So I'm intrigued to see what move they want to go with. And again, winter meetings are next week, so I just feel like the dominoes are waiting to fall.
What was the last big trade the Cubs had where they were bringing someone in? Not
selling?
Shipping guys out, like bringing someone in. I'm trying to think of it. It was it
Castellanos?
Is that it?
2019, yeah. Castellanos, that was a mid-season.
Yeah, it was a mid-season trade.
But if we're talking about, like, off-season?
Probably been, like, I'm blanking, but, like, yeah, I guess Castellanos would be the last big trade to bring someone in at any point in the year.
Yeah.
So, yes, I mean, I'm with you. It's good to see the Cubs being on the other side of this, where they've had the season where they were playoff contenders. They were close to making it. Now they can go out, and it's not time to trade people anymore. It's time to bring guys in. I think that's a good thing for the Cubs. It's a good thing for us with the show. It helps us out, but it's a good thing to see the Cubs on the other side of it, where they're not sending guys out and trying to bring in prospects and rebuild the farm system. They've done all that, and now you're seeing the Cubs actually be players in, at least rumored to be players in these kind of markets where it just hasn't happened in a while. But that's what they should be, right? They shouldn't be a rebuilding team. Mm-hmm. If anything, it's like maybe they have to retool one year. Maybe they have to sell at the deadline, right? The Yankees did that in 2016 when the Cubs got Chapman, but they didn't rebuild. They were right back in the ALCS the next year. You might have a down year and you need to sell at the deadline, okay. Mm-hmm. But you shouldn't be in a constant rebuild if you're a team like the Cubs. I think that they have the resources. I think they have people, heading the departments, front office, all that. They have organizational health where they shouldn't be in a position where they're not in the rumors to bring some of these big names in. I think that should be a yearly expectation that they are doing this. They don't have to always bring guys in, right? Mm-hmm. They don't always have to sign the biggest free agent or trade for the biggest trade candidate, but they should be in these rumors every year. And if they're not, then that's a bad offseason.
Right. I will say, I understand the fans who could be very frustrated with the fact of just being part of the rumors and then nothing happening. So I understand that aspect too. Like, if you don't agree with what I said in terms of, it's good to see them part of these conversations. But the Cubs have been rumored in, like, all kinds of things this last month since the postseason ended. And so whether it's Tyler Glasnow, whether it's Shane Bieber, whether it's Juan Soto, Pete Alonso, Bo Bichette, like, it seems like you said they're doing their due diligence, and that excites me because it feels like they're going to do something. Someone in the chat said, and I will not acknowledge his name because he's been very mean to Omar in the chat, and I do not like that because Omar is here every day. I got your back, Omar. All right. Someone in the chat says that he hopes that Bellinger signs soon and Otani goes to L.A. and the Cubs get nothing. Sounds like a troll.
Yeah, I was gonna say, sounds like we have a troll in the chat.
Big of you to be in the chat on a Tuesday at 1:40, bro.
At least throw a like if you're going to troll in the chat.
Please.
Give us a like.
He's just jealous.
Is he?
People are saying, don't let the facts get in the way of a good story.
Well, that's why they come into the chat.
We have 144 watching right now. 34 likes. Please hit the like button. Appreciate y'all. So, anyway, in terms of Glasnow, like actually being a real trade rumor now, that excites me a little bit more. And we talked a lot yesterday about why it'd be a great situation for the Cubs if they were to get Glasnow because, again, you're not going to have to give up a huge haul for him. He's got 1 year left to really prove that he deserves any kind of big money, so he's going to have a lot of motivation going into next year anyway. The Rays don't want to pay that $25 million because they're the Rays. I'll just be honest and say that I feel like it's a little bit more real than I felt yesterday.
Yeah. I mean, it would make sense. All the rumor made sense at the time. The discussion makes sense, and now like the real rumor, like it all makes sense. Mm-hmm. And who Tyler Glasnow is, who the Rays are. But like I said, like last offseason, are the Cubs in this mix? Maybe not, but the Cubs should be in a mix for a guy like this. Mm-hmm. When the rumors are coming out that Tyler Glasnow is going to be traded from the Rays, and that's the rumor. Mm-hmm. The Cubs should be involved in that rumors, and that's what I'm trying to say. Like that's where the Cubs should be pretty much on an annual basis of being involved in that rumors. They don't have to always get the guy. A bigger name goes on the market, and it makes sense and it fits for the Cubs. They should be involved in that.
Yeah. Captain Tater Tot in the chat says he's pretty sure the last big trade the Cubs made in the offseason to bring a dude in was either 2015 when they brought in Fowler or 2017 with Wade Davis. So actually, like as far as like in the offseason, Wade Davis might legitimately be that guy.
Solaire for Wade Davis.
Because in the going into the 2018 season, they just made free agent signings. I don't remember any big trade.
There weren't even any big free agent signings in 18 either, were they?
Well, no, going into 18, that's when they signed Darvish and the two relievers.
I'm thinking 19 and the guy you always like to bring up.
God, don't bring up his name. I'll be like Brendan when it comes to bringing up that guy's name. So, yeah, like, that only emphasizes even more that, like, it's kind of, like, odd in a way to see them in part of these rumors. And I've seen some discourse related to, like, who, like, not necessarily who, but, like, how the Cubs should add to their starting rotation, whether it's via trade or free agency. I think that because I'm so on board for Otani that I honestly wouldn't mind if they traded for a starting pitcher, and then if they traded for like Glasnow or even Bieber, whatever, one of the two,
or hold the spot in the rotation. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, to get that to hold that spot for 1 year, and then if you can't get Yamamoto, then there's still other guys on the free agent market that I'm okay with that could be nice placeholders because.
And then you have Otani coming in.
Yeah, because again, you're gonna have Otani in 2025, theoretically, hopefully, if everything goes right, and I'm willing to make that risk. All right. Then and on top of the fact that Cade Horton will, he's gonna make his debut in 2024 if all things go well and he stays healthy and he shows like the promise that he. Theoretically has.
We'll see what Ben Brown's able to do. Right.
You have all these things, and then when you go into 2025, the rotation could theoretically be built a lot more from within, more so than free agency. And I think that's the way the Cubs really want to go. They want to build their pitching through within. Of course, you're going to need one or two free agents, Otani in 2025, whatever, to put the team over the top.
Yeah.
But we've talked about it before, where sometimes it feels like the way the Jed Hoyer era, they want to spend money on bats and try to build through within in the pitching more so. And again, a lot of things have to play out, and I'm thinking more of 2025 in this conversation now, but that's why I'm on board for a guy like Glasnow or Bieber, because it's just 1 year. And if they show out and earn themselves a big paycheck, the Cubs can either pay them to stay, or you got a really good year out of them and you don't have to trade a ton for them. That's why one or the two, or hell, you don't let me dream about both, like, makes sense for this team.
It's kind of like what we said about Bellinger, right?
Yeah.
Like, obviously, like, it would be great if the Cubs re-signed Cody Bellinger. Like, he earned the contract that he's gotten. But if the Cubs don't re-sign him, he goes somewhere else, someone pays more for him or whatever it is, they got a great year out of Cody Bellinger. They got a year where he probably could have got – did he garner any MVP votes? I think he did, right?
He got a handful, yeah.
He had a handful of MVP votes, and he carried the offense at times when they needed him. He led the team. Like, they got a great season out of Cody Bellinger. No one regrets getting Cody Bellinger just because they might not re-sign him, right? Like, if he goes somewhere else, he goes to the Yankees or whatever – people aren't going to regret the one season they had of Cody Bellinger because it was worth it. He had a great season for him. Like, I think that's kind of the same thing. It's like, yes, you'd have to give up someone. You have to give up someone to go get Glasnow and Bieber. It's a little bit of a different situation. But I don't think, unless that person you give up turns into a really, really good starter, I don't think you're going to regret it as long as you get at least a solid season out of either of those guys.
Absolutely.
Like, I think it's worth the risk.
We're all about taking risks this offseason, man. We haven't been taking any risks. We haven't seen any risk out of the Jed Hoyer era. I'm ready to see us put a real team together, and that's how you put a real team together, is by making some risks. All right.
Yeah.
You know what's not a risk? Taking AG1. That's only going to make your life better.
I was going to say, when I start getting like stressed out because I'm taking a risk, I like to drink AG1.
Well, there you go.
If you're a longtime listener, you might know we've been friends with AG1 for what?
Our entire
year
existence.
And a half now, our entire existence. So I've been drinking AG1 since then. When I started drinking AG1 daily, I could feel a real difference in my daily health, had more energy, also felt more relaxed, and I could focus better. That's because AG1 is a foundational nutrition supplement that supports your body's universal needs, like gut optimization, stress management, and immune support. Since 2010, AG1 has led the future of foundational nutrition, continuously refining their formula to create a smarter, better way to elevate your baseline health. Not only did I replace my multivitamin with AG1, but I love that every scoop also includes prebiotics, probiotics, and digestive enzymes for gut support. I recommend AG1 to all my family and friends because AG1 has a team of doctors and scientists. It's tested for 950 contaminants. It's NSF certified for sport. It is formulated based on the latest science and maintains high quality standards. AG1 is the supplement I trust to provide the support my body needs daily, and that's why they've been a partner with CHGO for so long. If you want to take ownership of your health, it starts with AG1. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase. Go to drinkag1.com/CHGO Cubs. That's drinkag1.com/CHGO Cubs. Check it out.
Absolutely. While you check that out, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, it's over here at CHGO. But our friends at Ray Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram in Fox Lake, they're still going till the end of the month. Big of them. Credit to them. So if you're in the market for a new vehicle, if you are, then again, we have great news for you. We are on the same team as Ray Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram in Fox Lake. At Ray CDJR, you'll always be able to shop one of Chicagoland's largest inventories and find unforgettable savings. And right now, during the Black Friday sales event at Ray CDJR in Fox Lake, 0% financing is now available on select new models all month long. But that's not all. Just for listening, you get a free oil change when you mention CHGO at the service center, or mention CHGO when you book online at RayCDJR/service. So if you're in the market for a new vehicle, then you have to check out the team at Ray Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram because they are the only team we recommend. Visit them today on Route 12 in Fox Lake. For more information, visit Ray CDJR in Fox Lake or raycdjr.com. Serving the community since 1963. Literally, I think that's even longer than Luke Stuckmeyer has been alive. I think, if I'm mathing correctly, yes.
Something like that.
Don't let the facts get away with a good story. So, obviously, the Glasnow and the Bieber news or rumors coming out today was huge. I was reading The Athletic today. Big of me to admit. Credit to me. Ken Rosenthal wrote some, he puts out these articles like what's going on around the league, what he's hearing and stuff like that. And he kind of, doubled down a little bit on the Juan Soto stuff. We haven't talked about Juan Soto, it feels like, in a few weeks. He still hasn't been traded by the Padres, but he basically says that there's no possible way that Juan Soto isn't getting traded this offseason. And I just like to point out the fact that he says in this article from The Athletic, they have 6 pitchers who combined for nearly 700 innings with the Padres last season. That's Blake Snell, Seth Lugo, Michael Wacha, Nick Martinez, Luis Garcia, Josh Hader. 700 combined innings. All right. So theoretically, if the Padres going to need some pitching, right? 700 innings that are on the open market right now. The Cubs have some pitching that they can deal away for a guy like Juan Soto. It makes so much sense for the Cubs to be part of this conversation, and it feels like they've kind of fallen out of it, or there hasn't even really been a real rumor that they've been part of it. And I'm just emphasizing here again that, I know we just talked about Glasnow and Bieber and how I kind of like that idea of the 1 year with them. It's almost the same thing with Juan Soto, because if you get Juan Soto for one really good year and he balls out and he has earns this huge paycheck, you can either pay him or you still have guys coming up too, or you're still gonna if you sign Otani too, you're like there's so many different scenarios, right? But at the end of the day, going into 2024 with Juan Soto on your roster is better than going into 2024 with not Juan Soto on your roster. So, I just feel like there's so many things the Cubs will still be able to do, even if they can't retain him. But the biggest point here is that the Cubs have pitching that they can move for a guy like this who's gonna cost a lot of money next year for a team that's trying to shred payroll. I don't understand why the Cubs aren't part of these rumors. Right now, at least it feels like.
Yeah, I wonder how much of that is just as far as the rumors go. It's the Cubs maybe not let Soto's not a priority, but their priority is Shohei Otani, right? Because when you look at it, if they're going after Shohei Otani, if they get Shohei Otani, of course you would still want Juan Soto on your team, and you'd figure out a way to fit him in, but Soto or Otani's going to be your DH. Soto's best position for the Cubs at right now, the way the roster's constructed, is probably at DH. So that obviously brings a little bit of a conundrum, and you'd have to figure out how can we get Soto to left field, right? Do we have to move Happ over to center field? Do we have to trade Happ? You'd have to figure that out as a way to get, if you were to get both of them on the team. So I don't think it's that the Cubs don't have any interest in Juan Soto. I think it's more that Shohei Otani seems like the target, right? That's the guy they want, and they want to get him before they want to do all these other things. I don't.
It makes sense to go after Otani first and then Soto.
If they were to lose out on Otani, I think they would definitely there'd be more interest from that side for Juan Soto. I think not that there's not any interest in general, and I think again they would love to have both of them. Obviously, what team wouldn't? But Otani it just feels like the priority right now, especially with all the reports that he could make his decision at or before the winter meetings, right? That's not a lot of time. So if you're looking at Otani's probably the biggest domino, and that's when all the other pieces start falling. Well, if the Cubs' number one priority is Otani, it would make sense that their focus is him. Yeah, in my opinion,
that's fair. And I support that. I'd rather the focus really be on Otani than Soto. But I just find it interesting because it felt like at the beginning of the offseason they were kind of, part of like the small rumors related to Juan Soto. But I was watching MLB Network yesterday, and John Heyman was on there, and he said that he thinks that the Yankees are going to go after, obviously, Cody Bellinger, Juan Soto, and Yamamoto's. Like, he believes they're going to get 2 of those 3 that I just named. And it's the Yankees. That doesn't surprise me, of course.
Yeah.
I think Cody Bellinger will end up a Yankee if it goes into January and the Cubs have already signed Otani.
Yeah.
And this is coming from someone who said at the end of the year that Bellinger is number 1 priority to bring back, and that was because at the end of the year I didn't fully believe in the Cubs being serious about Otani. But here we are. It's been a month, and the Cubs are serious about Otani, and so I've shifted my opinion in thinking that Otani is number 1 priority for me. Me and Luke Stuckmeyer stand together on the island of Otani or bust at this point. But I believe Bellinger for sure could be a real possibility for the Yankees. Soto makes a lot of sense for them. They need more youth. They need left-handed power bats. And any team that's not trying to get Yamamoto, a 25-year-old potential ace, like I mean, Yamamoto, he might be like number 2 right after Otani for me. I just basically want all of Japan watching the Cubs next year.
They make them a lot of money.
Oh, man. I just dream about it. Lay in bed at night. I'm like, man, Otani, Yamamoto.
The Cubs jersey sales would be off the board.
Absolutely.
No, I'm with you on that one too. Like that, Yamamoto's a guy anyone should want, right? As everything we've heard. I'm not going to pretend like I've scouted Yamamoto or I'm this expert on Yamamoto. I actually, last Friday's show, Brennan and Corey, Brennan had a really good breakdown on what Yamamoto brings. So if you haven't listened to that one, you should.
Big of us, 2 days in a row.
Yeah, look at that.
Also, he said Palatine, completely wrong.
Palatine. He said Palatine. So if you're from Palatine, Illinois, let Brendan know. But he had a good breakdown on what Yamamoto, like who he is, his stuff, and what he brings. So, like, all of that and all the reports we're getting, like, there's a reason this guy is so highly sought after across the league right now.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, it's another guy that, of course, the Cubs should totally be in on, right? But, I think the priority right now is Shohei Otani. Like, if that's their number 1 target, like, it would make sense that all the rumors or anything that we're hearing isn't, like, number 1 team Chicago Cubs, right? Because what we've heard about Otani is the Cubs are one of the top suitors, right? So it makes sense that we're not seeing them being the number 1 suitor for all these other guys at the same time, right?
Yeah.
Because that's just, like, that all evolves, right? Like, what we were talking about with the Cubs a month ago, beginning of the offseason, is a little bit different now than what we're talking about them now. Like, this whole hot stove rumor mill, it's going to evolve. So, again, once the Otani domino drops, you're probably going to start seeing the rumor mill change up and evolve a lot more to the Cubs going in different directions. If they don't, or even if they do get Otani.
Right. Captain Tater Tot, dream world for me. He says Shohei, Glasnow, Bellinger, funky relievers. Hey,
Funky relievers.
The Cubs do like those funky relievers.
Yep.
And if the Cubs somehow, some way are able to get Otani and bring Bellinger back, that really would be like a dream offseason for me, because I don't think that they're going to be able to get them both. Because I think if they go after Otani, then I really think that they're definitely going to try and get Yamamoto after that. But, again, I would take that scenario. So, yeah, DFW Susie, fine with using all of these other guys as a distraction tactic if it gets us what we really want without giving up the farm. That's a
I think going back to the
I think
Bieber,
the
Glasnow
Bieber
stuff.
Yeah, the Bieber Glasnow stuff.
It could be very well. The funny thing about the rumors is, like, you don't know which side it's always coming from.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the Cubs could very much be feeding this to some of the national guys to, like, you know, like Bieber talk, right? Could be feeding some Bieber information on their pursuit of Bieber to the national guys, so the Rays pick it up and start to be like, oh wow, like we might run the risk of losing out a suitor for Glasnow if we don't be careful, right? Like, it's always funny with that because you don't know which side is actually giving out information to some of these national guys. So
yeah,
it very well could be that. Like, it very well could be that is what I'm trying to say.
For sure. Godfather Michael Collada says better have a plan B when Otani signs with LA. I think the Cubs have a plan B.
You can always trust the Godfather to be negative.
Or
the pessimistic one of the bunch.
I firmly believe they have a plan B. I don't know what it is, but I think that they have one. And that's why we've been talking about them being part of all these trade rumors and stuff, because they're checking in and they're seeing, okay, if we don't get Otani, then, maybe we trade for Glasnow, or we trade for Bieber, trade for Bo Bichette. So that goes back to like why I was saying earlier at the beginning of the show that it's a big deal that they're part of all these trade rumors. So again, as much as I'm fully in on Otani, I do understand that they're not even like the Cubs aren't the number one favorite for him. And I understand that it's going to take a lot for them to actually get him here. So for me, it's like wait and see when that happens. Mm-hmm. And then try and fill out the rest of the roster after that. Because I'm sorry, Otani is number one priority at this point for me. And I can't imagine what it would be like at Wrigley Field for 80-some games with Shohei Otani there. Oh, my God.
There you go.
Anyway, we got about 20 minutes left.
Yeah, we're going.
I saw another article. I think this actually came out yesterday. Again, was scrolling The Athletic this morning. Big of me, credit to me. And believe his name is
Cody Stavenhagen.
Cody Stavenhagen. Thank you.
Another Cody.
Cody's a great name. He wrote an article at The Athletic, basically ranking the top 10 worst contracts in Major League Baseball, and lo and behold, unfortunately, I say this unfortunately because it saddens me, but Javier Baez and Kris Bryant rank in the top 5 of his top 10. I believe his number 1 was Steven Strasburg because he has so many. He's due to make $35 million each of the next 3 years, and he just retired because of injury history. Mm-hmm. So the Nationals going to be paying out all that money for a guy who's not even in the league anymore. So that clearly looks like a terrible contract. Anthony Rendon, number 2. Giancarlo Stanton, number 3. And then Kris Bryant, number 4. He's going to be entering his 3rd year of his 7-year deal worth $182 million. He's going to make $27 million next year. And I think the biggest thing with Kris Bryant that we've all said, honestly not even before the Cubs actually traded him, was just the fact that he's struggled with injuries since 2018. Yeah. It just saddens me, man. Like that he's fallen this far down to where now he's getting put on lists where he's the worst contract in baseball, man.
Yeah, when it sucks to see. Yeah, it sucks to see the fall because he was such an exciting player going back to when they drafted him, right?
Yeah.
Like they drafted. You were like, he wasn't like a random guy that you didn't know, mm-hmm. and didn't like when he had a lot of fanfare when he got drafted by the Cubs. Like who got drafted before him? It was
Mark Appel.
Mark Appel, right? Yeah, like the Cubs probably would have drafted him had he fallen to 2, right? But they got Kris Bryant. Immediately became one of the best prospects in baseball. Mm-hmm. Won like the minor league player of the year, whatever it was.
College player of the year. Minor league player of the year.
And then comes up rookie of the year. MVP, right? Like he was World awesome to watch. And then just to see where he's gone. I mean, he was worth negative 1.2 FWAR in 2023.
It's crazy.
Like that's just and a lot of it has had to do with injuries, whether that was with the Cubs or with the Rockies now. He's had his fair share of injuries. And, we've said that the best ability is availability. But sometimes when you're just consistently getting bad injury, like, it sucks to see.
Yeah.
Especially for a guy that, as far as, the Cubs organization goes, helped so much in ending that 108-year World Series. Like, he means so much to the Cubs organization because of what he did in 2016.
Yeah.
And what he was able to do to help end that drought. Like so that's why I'm saying, like, as important as he is to the Cubs organization, that's why, even though he's been elsewhere for going on 3 years now, it still sucks to see how much he's kind of fallen off.
When I was in Colorado in August for getting to watch the collapse firsthand, they were playing Bryant at first base, and of course, I think one of the games I went to, he hit a homer against the Cubs. Mm-hmm. The offense is still there. It's just, again, like you said, it's the injuries. And obviously his defense, even when he was on the Cubs, it's not like he was the greatest defensive player in the world. He actually played third base longer than I ever thought that he would for the Cubs. I remember when Bryant was making his way to Wrigley, people were like, oh, he's going to be in the outfield, corner outfield spot, whatever. He's definitely not going to play at third base forever. And he played third base every year with the Cubs until like his very last year, I believe. Maybe he started the year playing a little bit of third base, but mainly was playing corner outfield in 2021 before they traded him. And now they're he's consistently playing first base for the Rockies. I'm, considering I don't really necessarily know where the Rockies are organizationally. I think they have some nice pieces that I saw when I was out there. I've been on the DMVR Rockies podcast, and they've told me a little bit about some of the guys they got.
Oh, man, who was the center fielder that was just making? I can't remember his name.
Doyle,
yeah,
Brandon Doyle. Yeah,
he was awesome against the Cubs.
Gold Glove defender. Nolan Jones also has. He was
and Tovar. CHGO Tovar too. Another.
Yeah. They have some guys.
Yeah,
but considering the division that they're in. And the fact that they never can find pitching because they play at Coors Field and it's so hard to pitch there, it's hard to ever think, when is this team ever going to be anything again? I'm curious to how the Rockies, if the Rockies ever try and pull an Arenado with Bryant just to get the money out, pay someone $50 million to take him like they did with Arenado. I'm not saying that the Cubs should be part of that. I would love for Bryant to maybe end his career with the Cubs, on a 1-year deal or something when that contract is over. But just You knew when he signed that contract with Colorado is that he just wanted to be out of the big market. Yeah. You definitely felt like that, and he definitely is, and no one's really talking about him, and that's probably what he wants. But I think
no one's talking about him for the bad reason. That's definitely not what he wanted.
True.
He just wanted, maybe he wanted to be out of the spotlight of a big city a little bit, but he definitely didn't want people to not be talking about him because he can't stay healthy.
That's true. That's true too. I guess I'm more sad about it just because following him through the minor leagues, he is the one guy that the Cubs have ever had that I was like, this guy's going to be a Hall of Famer one day. I fully believed that he was going to be a Hall of Fame player for the Cubs one day. And he was for 3.5 years.
Yeah, he looked like it. His trajectory was sky's the limit. And then,
the other one, Javi Baez, he was ranked number 5 in this list. Obviously, he was one of the worst hitters in baseball last year. 75 weighted runs created plus over the time that he's been a Tiger. That's 25% below league average.
Yeah, that's
it's not great. And what's weird is that the strikeout rate has actually gone down, but he just isn't hitting balls hard, and he's not doing anything offensively. So it's almost like they've tried to change him, and it just has made him – it's taken him out of, who he is. Yeah. And one of the things that I feel like Cubs fans and even, guys like Joe Madden when he was the manager and guys within the Cubs organization, they always they emphasize just letting him be who he is, and you just let the good come with the bad. And unfortunately, when he was with the Cubs, the bad was that he struck out way too much, didn't walk at all. But when the good things were the defense in the field, which I still think he's doing pretty well with the Tigers, and the good when he's at the plate is he was a streaky player. So he'd go on a 2 or 3 week hot streak and carry the Cubs at times, right? He's the one that surprises me more than anything between him and Bryant, that he has fallen off this bad. Yeah. I always thought okay, when they let him go, I felt like it was the right move for the Cubs, and that was before I knew anything about Pete Crow Armstrong. But I always thought that we were gonna be okay without him because I just felt like some sort of injury history was gonna come because he was such a flashy player that made all these incredible plays, whether it was on the bases and on defense. He swings so hard, you felt like a back issue was coming at some point.
Yeah.
But that hasn't been the case. He just isn't good at baseball right now. The last 2 years.
Yeah, which is it's surprising because he's actually cut down his strikeout rate a lot.
Right.
In
Detroit.
Weird. It's down a lot. He's just not hitting. I mean, he never had a He did actually, for a few years, have a really good batting average, right? Like that kind of stuff. But, like, he's hit 238 and 222 the last 2 seasons. I mean, he's not hitting for power anymore. He only had 9 home runs this season and 547 plate appearances. He's still a really good defender.
Yeah.
Like, he's still able to make
He'll show up and play well against the White Sox.
Plays. But I think what that article said, he also led the majors in errors the last 2 seasons, something like that. So, like, that was always something with Javi where he made
the incredible
plays that blew your mind. Mm-hmm. But there were definitely some times where he messed up on the routine stuff too. Mm-hmm. So I mean, he's still a good defender, but when you're leading the league in errors for 2 seasons, like over a 2-season span, like that's obviously not good.
Right.
So I don't know. Yeah, it is again another guy that he didn't. I don't know if he played as big a role as Chris Bryant in ending that drought, but he obviously played a role. And the years after was like, what was it, 19 when he, or 18 when he?
18 when he was the MVP runner-up.
Yeah, second MVP voting. Mm-hmm. So like he had another career where like Cubs fans adored him, man. Cubs fans adored Javi Baez. He had a great run with the Cubs, and then he was a guy that, he got traded at the trade deadline when they hit the reset button. And yeah, it's been very tough to see what has happened to Javi Baez as well. Same thing with, like I talked about with Bryant. It's been really tough to watch what Javi Baez has kind of become in baseball right now because he has had just 2 years where he has struggled to show that he's he again below league average hitter the last 2 years, right? Mm-hmm. When we know how good of a hitter he could be when he's at his best. So yeah, it's another guy where it's tough to see because again, another guy that means a lot to the Cubs organization for what he did those few years. So tough to see him.
Yeah,
his fall as well.
The setup man in the chat says, wasn't Javi quoted saying his confidence was at an all-time low last season? Baseball can really mess with your mind, man. And I'm not sure if that's true, but I wouldn't be surprised because, yeah, he was – I think statistically it was like him and Tim Anderson is the worst hitters in baseball last year. They were both on a cover for Sports Illustrated like 5 years ago, bro. Like, how the mighty have fallen, man. And I know every time we talk about these 2 guys that we just mentioned and guys like Anthony Rizzo and, even Wilson Contreras, considering all the talk of the last year before he went to the Cardinals and, when he went to the Cardinals, like, it just saddens me that a lot of them have fallen off. Now, Rizzo started the year last year off pretty well, but then the concussion thing happened, and they really, like the Yankees, messed that up.
Isn't another reminder that, like, how tough this game is?
Oh, yeah.
Like, Javi Baez, he's not old. He's 30 years old. Chris Bryant's 30, something like that, right? Like, 31 maybe? Yeah. Like, these guys aren't old players that are just, like, on their last legs. Like, these guys are still, especially the last 2 seasons.
They're supposed to be in the primes of their career.
They're still in the primes of their careers, maybe getting towards the back half of their primes, but they're still in the primes of their careers, and they're either hurt or struggling. Mm-hmm. So it's like it's another reminder of how hard it is, like, to stay healthy for 162 games or at least most of it, and to just perform year in, year out. Like, this game evolves every year. The game changes every year. Players get better every year, and that's why, like, some of the guys a guy that had won the MVP, a guy that was a runner-up for an MVP, a few years later can look so bad. Like, it's just another reminder for me of how difficult playing baseball at a high level year in, year out, how hard that is to do. So guys like Mike Trout, right, who did it every year for a good however many seasons before the last couple, right? Like Shohei Otani the last 3 years had been incredible on both sides of the ball. Like, guys that can do that year in, year out, year after year after year after year, that's just stuff like this just makes that so much more impressive because it just goes to show how hard that actually is to do.
Yeah, I completely agree, and that's why I'm so in on Otani and some of these other dudes. Now, on the flip side of that, it's like giving out these huge free agent contracts. There is a huge risk. Like, I'm sure the Rockies and the Tigers, especially since they're small market teams, they have to be wondering, like, man, how do we build this team with these massive contracts on here with these guys not producing the way they need to produce? And the difference between those 2 organizations and the Cubs is, like, I don't even have to explain it. Like, the Cubs are the Cubs. And that's why I hope this second time around or this next time around that they don't, if they make one mistake on a free agent, they do not look at it as if they did with Jason Hayward, right? The Red Sox a long time ago, they paid Pablo Sandoval $50 million to go away, bro, because the Red Sox can do that, all right? I know that there is going to be another free agent signing that the Cubs make that is going to look bad because every team is doing it all the time. They cannot be afraid of doing this. Every trade, free agent signing, it is a risk. Absolutely is a risk. But it's the risk you got to make if you want to be in the race to be a World Series contender, a playoff contender, something like that. You just got to be willing to make those kind of moves. Obviously, the front office has to be right. That's how they keep their jobs. They're paid millions of dollars to get those moves right. So, to bring it back around, credit to Jed Hoyer for not giving all that money to Chris Bryant and Javi Baez. I think Rizzo's like the only one that I feel like you can say, considering they've had issues at first base, he's the only one that has gone on to be fine. Okay, he had the concussion issue last year and didn't play well after it and basically sat out the rest of the year when the Yankees realized they needed to just sit him. But other than that, like, he's been pretty good for the Yankees, right? So I guess it's one of those, as a fan, you look at it and, like, my perspective is it's not my money. But the Cubs also, they can't get cheap again. They can't. Yeah. They can't. If something doesn't go right, they cannot say, oh, because we paid Jason Hayward this money, we can't be in on Bryce Harper.
Yeah, you can't be scared. That's kind of what I was saying yesterday. Is like when you're looking to compete, when you're trying to win World Series, you have to be willing to take, especially if you're a big market like the Cubs. You have the resources like the Cubs. You have to be willing to take the risks because the risks are what help you. Yes, they might not work out, but if they do, ooh, look at that. Like, how great is that? How much does that help you? Would it be amazing if the Cubs could win a World Series on the backs of a bunch of guys that cost nothing? Of course, that would be the easy thing to do, right? You bring up 9 guys from the minor league system and they lead you to the World Series. I think that's the ideal scenario, right, for any team, but that doesn't work. So you have to go out and you have to be willing to take risks. And if you're a team with the resources like the Cubs, you should be even more incentivized to take those risks because you can afford it. And like the Jason Hayward one, right? Like, it didn't work out long haul. Like, he didn't live up to the contract, but he won multiple Gold Gloves. He helped you win a World Series and get back to the NLCS and be a playoff contender for a few years. Did he ever hit? No, but he was a Gold Glove caliber defender for a few years. And he was a great leader in the locker room, all that kind of stuff. But what I'm saying is, like, yes, the risk didn't necessarily work out, but at least you took the risk to try to win a World Series, right. And you did. You won the World Series. Did you win multiple as you were looking for? No, but you took the risk, and it worked out at least once. So if you're the Cubs, you should be willing to take that risk and just get yourself in a better position where to compete. Get yourself in a better position where you have more good players, because we all know more good players help you compete at the highest level. Absolutely. Yeah, okay, the Padres and Mets maybe didn't work out that way for them, but generally, the more good players you have, the better you should be, and the Cubs should be willing to take the risk on those good players because they can afford it and they want to win. If they want to win, they should be willing to take those risks.
I agree. We've been talking about a lot of risk, and you know what? I'm going to be taking a lot of risks tonight when I'm betting the entire college basketball slate on CIRCA Sportsbook. And there's 3 reasons why. All right, the Tide money line splits. The games will strive to be a -110 split on the CIRCA Sports menu, unlike other sports books, which may use a -115 or -120. CIRCA Sports keeps as little money as possible on large market bets, especially compared to other books. CIRCA Sports does not limit players based on their winnings. Every player has the same limits, unlike other books who do limit winning players. They actually encourage bettors to download and explore other sports betting apps available just to compare not only the lines, but to see if they take stuff away from you based off their winnings. And then finally, the customer service. The customer service is second to none. There are real people behind the CIRCA Sports brand who resolve issues in a timely fashion, unlike other books who use chatbots. I hate chatbots. CIRCA doesn't use chatbots. That's why I love them. All right, all aspects of the app are being run by the same team that runs the main CIRCA Sportsbook at CIRCA Resort and Casino in Las Vegas. So download the CIRCA Sports Illinois app at circasports.com/Illinois-app to sign up today. Also be on the lookout for CIRCA events, watch parties, and tailgates. If you or someone you know may have a problem with gambling, call 1-800-GAMBLER, text GAMB to 833-234, or visit areyoureallywinning.com.
And after you place your bets, you should go over to Midtown Athletic Club.
Or you could place your bets at there.
Or you could do the same, yeah. But you should go to the Midtown Athletic Club near you. Midtown's got 4 Chicagoland locations: Palatine or Palatine if you're Brendan Miller. Palatine in the northwest suburbs, Bannockburn in the North Shore, Willowbrook in the southwest suburbs, and the Midtown Athletic Club and Hotel in the middle of Bucktown and Lincoln Park, my neighborhood, Midtown Athletic Club. Midtown Palatine has launched a multi-million-dollar transformation of the club, which will be complete in early 2024. Listeners can lock in favorable rates if they join before the end of the year. There's something at the clubs for everyone, whether you're single, you're part of a family with kids, you're looking to make lifestyle changes, or you're looking for holistic wellness. There's something to do for the entire family if you got kids, right? Like, we got plenty of people at this company that have kids. They got childcare included with family memberships. So if you're someone that maybe struggles to get to the gym or finding childcare or any of that kind of stuff, Midtown Athletic Club, it can help you out with that. It's got cool club features, super luxe locker rooms with wet and dry saunas and premium amenities, amazing outdoor and indoor pools and hot tubs, a collection of boutique fitness studios with more than 100 classes per week included in the membership. And this isn't gym quality. The spaces are boutique quality. It's got the best tennis courts and programming in the sport. Midtown has indoor/outdoor tennis, pickleball, and paddle tennis. USTA professional quality all the way. So if you are Mark Carmen, who likes to talk about your tennis career all the time, Midtown's got tennis for you. Head over to midtown.com/CHGO to find out more and to tour the Midtown Athletic Club nearest you.
Barb, I do not walk around Midtown with my shirt off posing in front of the mirror. I just want to put that out there. And credit to you for believing that. Big of you to say, but that's definitely not me. We're going to Midtown tomorrow, actually.
Go hang out.
We're doing some content there, so that's going to be a lot of fun. So we've kind of gone over.
Maybe shoot some hoops.
Yeah. 3-point shootout. Little knockout, maybe. I don't know.
Barb said you could take me and Corey to Midtown and be our spotter.
Maybe for Corey. Barb is totally like, she is, and big of me to say, Ryan, but she is not giving you enough credit.
Oh, I know.
She's not giving you enough credit. She also thinks that you look like you're cold all the time.
I am kind of cold all the time, but not because the studio's cold.
Yeah. Okay, so real quick, I did want to mention before we leave, because we probably need to get off the set. Andre Dawson. It came out of the Chicago Tribune this morning. Mm-hmm. Andre Dawson, he wants to change his Hall of Fame cap. I guess on it. Is it on his plaque, or is it just? I
think it'd be on his plaque.
Right.
Is it?
He wants to change it to a Cub, to a Cubs hat.
Yeah.
And all I have to say is that he is a king for that, because yes. He's quoted saying, "I realize there will probably be some backlash, but at this point, I'm 70 years old. Do you think I really care?" And all I could say is that is very, 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 very big of him. So I'm all for it. Change the plaque. He wants it done. He's a Hall of Famer. Put the Cubs hat on him. So
yeah, do they not get to choose?
No, I think they get to choose, but
why?
I'm not exactly sure what cap he's actually wearing.
I think it's an Expos cap.
I thought it was an Expos one, but I didn't want to confirm it.
Yeah, it's an Expos cap, but I'm like, I guess I wasn't aware that they don't get to choose the hat that they put. I mean, would he have not chosen the Cubs hat on his plaque?
I think he just changed. I think they get to choose, and I think he's just changing his mind.
Oh, I'm looking. This is from the Tribune.
I believe that they get to choose, right? So, and that's what I'm saying. It's very big of him.
So the Hall of Fame had taken the decision away from inductees in 2001, reportedly after a rumor that Wade Boggs had a clause in his Tampa Bay contract to choose a Devil Rays cap over the Boston Red Sox when he got in.
Interesting.
So apparently, yeah. So
they do decide it, not the player.
At least at when Dawson was inducted, I guess. So yeah, this is. So this is another part from that Tribune article, but when Dawson was voted into the National Baseball Hall of Fame in 2010, he was forced to accept the Hall's decision to display him wearing an Expos cap on his plaque. The decision was made without consulting him, which stuck in his craw. When I think about them immortalizing a cap, it would be the Chicago Cubs for a lot of personal reasons, Dawson said at the time. When the announcement was made last night, it was a little gut-wrenching. So I guess he did not have the decision, but...
Well, I was today years old when I learned that.
Yeah, so there you go.
If you didn't know, then now you know. But big of him to say it publicly.
So now he wants to get it changed.
Yeah. I mean, he was an MVP. Like,
the blank
he's in the Hall of Fame. Yeah, blank check. Like, I think more, at least for me, and maybe it's just because I'm a Cubs fan, so maybe you can't use my opinion or thought, but like when you think of Andre Dawson, you just think Cub. I feel like a large majority of people think that.
I don't think so.
Well,
I mean, he was getting pulled out of the Wrigley Ivy in that one commercial a few years back.
Yeah, that's true. And he comes back for like everything.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I know the Expos don't exist anymore, but they're technically the Nationals, but I don't know. Anyway, just went in the show on that.
There you go. Ended on a high note.
Yeah, we're ending on a high note. Andre Dawson is my king. Big of me to say. Quote it, put it on a quote graphic. We'll put it out on social media. All right, tomorrow we're back, 1:20. Again, I think Luke will be here, but don't bank on it or don't put it set in stone. But according to our schedule, it says he'll be here. So for everyone missing Luke, he'll be here tomorrow.
There you go.
So yeah, 1:20. Make sure you hit the like button on your way out. 66 likes. I know over 100 people are watching today, so make it make sense on your way out. Thank you. Appreciate y'all for checking out the show. Hopefully we get some big news happening between now and our next show. That way we can celebrate the Cubs making the team better. Because someone asked in the chat, are the Cubs a playoff team right now? And I would say no. But there's still a lot of offseason to go.
Still a lot of offseason to go. They got work to do.
Exactly. A lot of work to do. Get to work, Jed. Make a trade. Sign Otani. Do it all. Sign them all. Sign all the players. Trade for all the good players. I don't care how we get it done. I want a World Series contender next year. All right. So before we get out of here, I got one more ad to read, and it's all about Empire. All right. With Empire today, you get to shop at home convenience. The right product for your needs, quick and professional installation, and a low price guaranteed. Empire today is the best place to get new flooring. So, of course, they have copycats, but Empire can't be beaten on quality, service, speed, or competitors. Advertise low-quality products that Empire simply won't carry. Empire won't promise the lowest prices because anyone who does that is putting flooring in your home that they wouldn't put in theirs. They keep shopping for floors simple with a curated product selection. Empire's philosophy is to help you find what you need, not overwhelm you with thousands of choices and substitutes. What they leave out of their selection is as important as what they put in. Empire's product team exhaustively combs through thousands of product samples each year to find the perfect styles. Their virtual floor designer is a great way to see how new floors will look in any space. It's easy, just snap a picture and instantly see how new floors will look in your room. Shopping for floors at a big box store can be frustrating. You might talk to someone today who was working in plumbing yesterday. Flooring is all Empire today does. They live and breathe flooring, Ryan. So you can be confident you're getting honest, upfront advice they provide themselves on their convenient shop-at-home service. They help customers shop for floors where they use their floors so they can see exactly what their new floors will look like in their home's lighting and decor so they can make an informed decision. Service our own warranties. If an issue does arise, just call Empire. They service all warranties themselves. You won't have to track down a manufacturer's phone number. So, schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive a $350 off discount when they use promo code CHGO. Restrictions apply. See Empire Today/CHGO for details. Okay, we definitely went way over, and I apologize to anyone that is offset that is mad at me. Anyway, so we'll see y'all tomorrow, 1:20. Thanks for checking out the CHGO Cubs Podcast. Fly to W.
We all silly like the mayor.